In this video, we're exposing the truth about truck guns, the 10 mistakes getting Americans robbed, disarmed, or arrested. From unlocked glove boxes to guns that turn illegal at a state line, what you are about to see may change what rides in your truck tonight. Let's expose it. Number 10. The Micro Compact Pocket Pistol. Number 10 is the Micro Compact Pocket Pistol, the small .380 or subcompact 9mm that fits in a pocket and disappears in a glove box. These guns are built for concealment on a body, not for the kind of threats a truck actually faces. Pew Research found that 46% of adults in rural areas personally own a gun, compared with just about 1 in 5 in cities. And rural gun owners are far more likely to say hunting and animal control are the reason they carry one at all. A truck gun in farm country might need to stop a coyote at 40 yards or hold off a pack of hogs, not just handle a close-range mugging. A tiny pistol with a short barrel and a 5-round magazine was never designed for that job. It is easy to carry and easy to hide, but on the open range it runs out of range, ammunition, and stopping power fast. The mismatch is not about the gun being bad. It is about buying the tool made for one job and asking it to do another. Small guns like the Ruger LCP or the Glock 42 work fine as a backup in a pocket, but as the only firearm in a truck that spends time on gravel roads and open land, they leave a real gap. Rural gun owners regularly deal with rattlesnakes near a barn, a coyote circling livestock at dusk, or a hog problem that shows up overnight. And a pocket pistol with a short sight radius makes all three harder than they need to be. That gap between what a gun is built for and what a truck actually needs shows up again and again on this list, and the next entry proves it in the opposite direction. Number 9. The loaded rifle in the window rack. Number 9 is the rifle sitting loaded in a window rack for anyone walking through a parking lot to see. 50 years ago, this was normal in farm country. A shotgun or a lever gun hanging in plain sight in the back window. Today it is close to an invitation. Everytown Research, using FBI crime data, found that vehicle break-ins made up 40% of all reported gun thefts in 2022, up from 31% in 2018. And the increase was sharpest in cities where vehicles sit parked in public for hours at a time. A visible gun in a rack tells a thief exactly what is inside before they even try the door handle. Police departments in cities like Hoover, Alabama, now run public campaigns asking drivers to remove gun decals and keep firearms out of sight for this exact reason. The gun itself might be a perfectly good choice for the job it was bought for. The problem is where it lives and who can see it. A rifle in an open rack is not a truck gun anymore. It is a target with a truck attached to it. A classic lever-action rifle like a Marlin 30-30 or a pump shotgun in the back window looks familiar and even nostalgic, but familiar is not the same as safe. Police in Wichita, Kansas reported that guns stolen from vehicles jumped again in 2025, with 118 firearms taken from cars in just the first 6 months of the year. Building on a 2023 report where 49% of all guns stolen in that city came straight out of vehicles. That theft risk carries straight into the next mistake, which happens inside the vehicle instead of on top of it. Number 8. The handgun in the unlocked glove box. Number 8 is the handgun tossed into an unlocked glove box and forgotten. This is probably the single most common truck gun setup in America, and in a growing number of states it is not even legal anymore. California law is specific on this point. A locked glove box or center console does not count as a locked container unless it was built into the vehicle specifically as a safe. Illinois passed its Safe Gun Storage Act in 2025, effective January 1st, 2026, requiring any firearm accessible to a minor or a prohibited person to be secured in a real locked container, in the home or in the vehicle. On top of the legal risk, The ATF reports that more than 95% of the over 1 million firearms reported stolen between 2019 and 2023 were taken from private citizens. Most of them handguns pulled straight out of parked cars. A glove box is not a safe. It is a plastic box with a latch that any thief can pop in seconds. The gun owner who thinks their truck gun is secure because it is out of sight is often the same owner who becomes a statistic in next year's theft report. Colorado and Delaware have gone further, passing laws that require any firearm left in a vehicle to be locked inside a real container rather than simply out of sight. And more states are watching those laws closely before writing their own versions. Storage law is only half the story, though. The other half is choosing a gun so powerful that the owner cannot actually use it when it matters. Number 7. The oversized magnum revolver. Number 7 is the big magnum revolver bought because it sounded like the most powerful option on the wall. A Smith & Wesson X-frame in .500 caliber or a Ruger Super Redhawk loaded with full-power 44 Magnum rounds looks like the ultimate truck gun on paper. In practice, heavy recoil slows down every follow-up shot, and most owners rarely practice with a gun that punishes their hand every time they pull the trigger. Rural law enforcement veterans have pointed out that response times in the country can run 1 to 2 hours. Far longer than the 15-minute average in cities, which means a truck gun has to work on the first try, under stress, with no backup coming soon. A gun that is painful to shoot does not get practiced with, and a gun that does not get practiced with does not get shot straight when it counts. This is the opposite mistake of the tiny pocket pistol from number 10. Instead of too little gun, this is too much gun for the person actually holding it. The right truck gun sits in the middle, powerful enough for the real threat but controllable enough to hit what you aim at more than once. That balance becomes even more important when the threat is not one animal or one person, but several at once. Number 6. The bargain single-shot shotgun. Number 6 is the bargain single-shot shotgun kept behind the seat because it was cheap and simple. Simple is not always safe. A single shotgun means one trigger pull and then a slow reload, which is a serious problem if the threat is not one target but many. Feral hogs are a real and growing issue in rural states, with Texas Wildlife Services alone reporting the removal of more than 51,000 feral hogs in a single year using firearms, often multiple animals in the same encounter. A one-shot gun cannot keep up with a group of hogs, a pack of coyotes, or more than one person during an emergency. Reliability matters just as much as firepower here. A budget single shotgun that has sat behind a seat for years, exposed to dust, moisture, and temperature swings, is also more likely to jam or misfire exactly when it is needed most. This is not an argument against shotguns. A pump-action 12-gauge remains one of the most trusted truck gun choices in the country. A Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870 pump gun costs only a little more than a bargain single shot and solves the repeat shot problem completely, since a pump gun can fire 5 or more rounds before a single shotgun can even be reloaded once. The mistake is choosing the cheapest, simplest version of that gun and assuming simple always means reliable. The next mistake on this list has nothing to do with the gun at all, and everything to do with what state line you happen to be driving through. Number 5. The road trip rifle that breaks the law at the state line. Vehicle carry law in America is not one law. It is 50 different laws that do not agree with each other. Texas, Florida, and most permitless carry states allow a loaded long gun or handgun in a vehicle for a licensed adult without much extra paperwork. California, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois require the opposite, an unloaded firearm locked in a container with the ammunition stored unattached. Under California law, several common truck gun configurations, including certain braced pistols and short rifles, are classified as banned weapons regardless of how they are set up. A driver who never leaves their home state might never think about this. A driver who crosses state lines for work, hunting, or a family trip can find themselves holding what they believed was a normal truck gun, and is actually contraband the moment they cross a border. Federal transport law offers some protection during active travel, but only if the gun is unloaded and locked away from the passenger compartment the entire time. Even magazine capacity is not consistent. Illinois caps handgun magazines at 15 rounds, which means a standard 17-round magazine that is perfectly legal in a home state can become a separate charge the moment a driver crosses into Illinois with it still loaded in the gun. Knowing your own state law is not enough anymore. The next mistake is less about location and more about matching the gun to the job it is actually being asked to do. 4. Number 4. The compact carry 9mm as an all-purpose truck gun, pressed into service as the only truck gun for every situation. 9mm is not a bad choice. It is actually the most common and most practical truck gun caliber in the country, easy to shoot, widely available, and effective with modern defensive ammunition. The mistake is expecting a gun built for close-range personal defense to also cover longer-range rural threats like predators or hogs at 50 or 100 yards. A compact carry pistol with a short barrel and a small sight radius is simply not built for that distance. This is exactly why pistol-caliber carbines have grown so popular as a middle option, since they fire the same 9mm round but add a stock, a longer barrel, and a longer sight picture, turning a close-range cartridge into something usable well past handgun range. A driver in a city apartment with no yard and no predator problem may be perfectly served by a 9mm handgun alone. A driver on 20 acres in farm country is asking that same handgun to do a job it was never built to do. A Glock 19 or a Sig Sauer P365 covers the city scenario extremely well, but neither one was built to reach the range a rural threat can demand. Matching the gun to the actual environment, not the environment someone imagines, is the real skill here. The next entry shows how even the right caliber choice can still go wrong. Number 3. The mismatched magazine carbine. This mistake is easy to miss because the shooter did everything else right. They picked a 9mm carbine, a smart middle ground between a handgun and a full rifle. But if that carbine takes a different magazine than their everyday pistol, they now have to stock, label, and remember 2 separate types of ammunition and magazines instead of one. Firearms industry analysts covering truck gun setups have pointed to magazine commonality as one of the most underrated factors in the entire decision, noting that a single magazine type feeding both a carry pistol and a truck carbine changes how ammunition gets staged and grabbed in an emergency. The Ruger PC carbine and the Smith & Wesson M and PFPC were both built around this exact idea, using the same magazines as popular duty pistols already in millions of holsters. And a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 can be ordered from the factory to accept Glock magazines for the same reason. Skipping this step does not make the carbine a bad gun. It just adds confusion and wasted seconds to a moment where neither one is available. The next mistake on this list is not about the gun at all. It is about the box the ammunition sits in every single day of summer. 2. Number 2. The heat-baked ammo box. This one comes with some good news first. Ammunition does not explode in a hot vehicle. Arizona State University measured cabin temperatures in parked cars at around 116 degrees and dashboard temperatures near 157 degrees during peak summer sun, and primers need roughly 250 degrees just to begin auto-igniting, with propellant needing even more heat than that. The real danger is slower and less dramatic. The Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute recommends keeping ammunition under 150 degrees for long-term storage, because repeated heat cycling, hot during the day and cooler at night, day after day for months, gradually breaks down primers and powder. That degradation shows up as misfires, weak powder burns, or inconsistent pressure exactly when the ammunition is finally needed. Humidity makes this worse, since the same heat cycling pulls moisture into ammunition and steel alike, which is also why a carbon steel gun left in a truck all summer tends to develop rust nobody notices until it is too late. Sealed military-style ammunition, which uses a colored ring around the primer and case mouth to keep out moisture, handles this cycle noticeably better than ordinary commercial ammunition left loose in a box. Rotating truck gun ammunition every few months during hot weather solves almost all of this. Ignoring it for years does not cause an explosion, but it quietly turns a reliable defensive tool into a gamble. And that brings us to the single biggest mistake on this entire list. Number 1. No storage system at all. Every mistake on this list gets worse when this is the setup. A loose handgun is the easiest possible target for a thief, and thieves have clearly noticed. Vehicle break-ins accounted for 40% of all reported gun thefts nationwide in 2022, and researchers at the Council on Criminal Justice found that reported gun thefts from vehicles on roads, highways, and alleys alone rose 59% over just 5 years. Northwestern University researcher Susan Parker, who worked on that same nationwide theft data, put it simply, saying that where a gun is stored really matters because so many stolen guns are increasingly coming out of vehicles. States have started responding directly to this pattern. Illinois and California now require locked containers for firearms left in a vehicle, and several other states are actively considering the same requirement. A truck gun without a real locked case is not just breaking a growing list of state laws. It is one broken car window away from becoming somebody else's gun, possibly used in a crime the original owner never intended and may never even hear about. This is the mistake that turns every other item on this list from an inconvenience into a real liability. Conclusion: millions of trucks across this country still carry a gun that was chosen once and never reconsidered. The exact habit this list started with, and most owners still believe it is ready for anything. Theft, heat, distance, and shifting state laws prove otherwise for nearly everyone on this list. The truth is that most of these mistakes are not about buying a bad gun. They are about buying the wrong gun for the actual job, storing it the wrong way, or forgetting that the rules change the moment you cross a state line. A truck gun that matches your real environment, sits in real locked storage, and gets checked and rotated through the seasons solves almost every mistake on this list at once. The gun does not need to be the biggest, the loudest, or the most expensive option on the shelf. It needs to be the right one for the drive you actually make every day.